What's up, everyone? My name is Jared, and we got back in front of us today the Galaxy Watch 42 millimeter. So, everyone was really interested in my last video, which is more or less my overview, as I just got the watch. So, it's been a while, and I've used the watch pretty much every day. And so these are my thoughts. I guess this would be my quote-unquote final review so far. So one thing I want to clear up first is last video I mentioned that this wasn't stainless steel, and a person commented and said it was, and after I did research, this is in fact a stainless steel case around the edges. It's just a coating on this, so what I considered it as is like the space gray iPhone 10s, how yes it is stainless steel, but this may or may not come off. I don't know, no one knows yet, but it is possible in the future. Other than that, the watch has been pretty solid. One of the big topics of conversation was battery life. So I did just take this right off the charger, so it's 100%. But I can basically get 2 days and plug it back into the charger around 9 p.m. with about 30% left. Now, people also ask, how did I get that battery life? Well, I don't have the always on display on, so that is off. I have the brightness on 7, and I have the GPS off unless I am doing exercise. So that is kind of, I guess, my battery savings. And I also don't have the sound on. I have it just on vibrate. The only time it rings is if I get a call. So that is pretty much how I got the basically 2 days worth of battery usage out of this guy. So I'm sure if you got the bigger 46 millimeter watch, that it would be even longer than that, maybe around 3 to 4 days. You know, it's going to depend on what you do with it. But the battery life has been great. I would say it's as good as my Apple Watch Series 3. Getting a couple days, no problem really, out of the usage without having to worry and without having to always be needing a charger or worried about whether or not it's going to last. Next, excuse me. Next thing I'm going to say is the step tracking has been very good, very accurate. I used another phone as reference, and this comes up with less steps, which, in my honest opinion, I would say that's right, because I know some days I don't really walk a lot, and my phone is telling me I walked a ton, and I just don't think that's very accurate. But this is, and I also did my normal running route that I have mapped out with my car, and this does come up within 1/100th of a mile in terms of accuracy, so that might as well be as accurate as you could be, because I'm sure I ran a little bit differently than where the car drove. So there is those two things. Outside of that, you know, using this as a smartwatch, I've really seen no downsides, and in my honest opinion, I would say this is the really only true competitor right now to the Apple Watch. And now this is just after Apple released their new Series 4 update, which again, they really went all in on health features. And I have to give them credit where credit is due. Their Apple Watch is a great product, and all the health features are very beneficial to a lot of people. With that said, this doesn't, it definitely has a lot of health features. You got your stress through your pulse. You have your pulse. You can do O2 saturation, similar to your Samsung Galaxy watches, and it does detect irregular heartbeats if something is going on. It's not as advanced, I'd say, as the new Apple Watch, but it's still, I'd say, very good as the Apple Watch Series 3. And I would say, again, the heart rate monitor and all of that was very accurate as to what my actual heart rate is. So that is also good. The one downside I will say is, being that this is a Tizen OS watch and tightly linked with Samsung, a lot of the apps that you get or that you use here are not necessarily Android apps. They are more Samsung apps than anything. So if you use messages, you have your normal messages. It does work with Android messages as an option, but things like WhatsApp and some other third-party social media apps don't work necessarily as nicely as the normal messaging app. Phone calls do come in and work fine. Like I said before, Samsung Pay works just like how Google Play would work or Google Pay would work. It doesn't have that magnetic strip recognition like your phone does. And my emails come through on Gmail, no problem. The one thing I will notice about this watch compared to the Gear S3 is I used to be able to delete my emails from my watch and have it sync through, and this one I haven't really been able to do that. I scroll down to the end of my email and nothing really shows up. It's just my email. I go back, I still have to delete it from my phone, which when I get a buzz on my wrist or whatever, it is nice to scroll through, yep, that's junk, and just delete it right away. So that's one thing I wish they did a little bit better. The watch is certainly water resistant. I did wear it in the shower a few times. I've noticed that the speaker on my Apple Watch, every time it'd get it at all wet, whether I was in the shower, went for a swim, whatever the case may be, I'd have to use the digital crown and get that water out of the speaker. This I really haven't had to do. The first day I did it, which I kind of jumped in my hot tub and submerged it, I had to do it. But in the shower and stuff, the speaker here is on the side, and I really didn't notice a lot of water or anything getting in there. So I don't think that's going to be a huge deal for you. The next thing where I made a small error was on the 46 millimeter or the Gear S3 Frontier, your watch strap is a 22 millimeter strap. As you can see there on the strap, whether or not you can see it, it says 20. So this is a 20 millimeter strap, meaning if you go on Amazon, eBay, whatever, you can get any 20 millimeter strap with the pins and it will work no problem. You just pull out this here pin, take your strap on and off, and you can switch it however you please. So you get a ton of different strap options, having it be a more normal watch size than a special fitting like on the Apple Watch. Charging has been pretty fine. You know, it has the included cradle. I don't have the dual charger mat for your phone and your watch, but you know, no problem. You set it in like this. It does a good job. It, you know, can't say much more than that. You do get a daily briefing every day. If you take your crown to the left, it'll tell you the weather, what's going on. If it's raining, it'll be like, oh, make sure to bring your umbrella. So that's pretty cool. And outside of that, I mean, I've said it before and I will probably say it again. The Galaxy Watch is a watch that I do highly recommend, especially the new ones with better battery life and all that. It's a recommendation because I would say it's the most complete package until we see other brother Google drop a Google Watch. And I think up until then, this is your best bet on the Android market for a watch. It does work with other Android phones, especially if you install Samsung Health onto that phone, and then everything will sync pretty much as good as on your Galaxy. Of course, you won't have as great of integration, but you'll still be able to get your calls, texts, emails just the same through that Gear Manager or the GearWare app that you install.
Looks like there's a problem.
Google Home going off in the background. So right now, I would say this is the go-to. Whether you get the 42 millimeter in black like this one, you get the rose gold, or you get the 46, the big guy. I do believe this is the best bet right now for your smartwatch niche right now as far as Android is concerned. Again, until Google drops something big, this is the go-to. Google Wear just hasn't really taken off, I guess, and you have a lot of manufacturers putting out decent watches, but I would say they're incomplete. You either have a watch that's really rugged with very limited features like Casio or the Nikon Mission, or Nixon Mission, I'm sorry. The Nixon Mission, those watches are super rugged, super durable, but they are tailored towards one thing. Like both of those are really outdoorsy things. The Mission watch was pretty much for going in the water. It had seals and ports everywhere, but it didn't do some things like heart rate, which at this point I would say is a pretty basic smartwatch feature. To be honest, I've yet to really been truly convinced by a watch besides the Galaxy Watch and the Apple Watch that I've worn for more than a few days, gotten frustrated with it, and then have it worn again. That includes watches like the TicWatch, Huawei Watch 2. I've tried a couple. I've bought them. I've sold them probably as quick as I've bought them because I just wasn't truly that impressed. I am impressed with this watch just as if I am impressed with my Apple Watch. I'll give it to this one because you can use it with much more phones. You can use it with anything in the Android ecosystem with pretty much no problem. Obviously better with Samsung, but still you can still use it with your Pixel, with your OnePlus. It doesn't matter. it will still work pretty darn well. So with that, I would absolutely say if you are a Galaxy user and you're looking for a smartwatch, this is the way to go, whether you get the big one or the small one. If you are an Android user, I would still vote this one because of the features are intact. Tizen right now, in my opinion, is better than Android Wear. Android Wear just hasn't really got polished yet. I feel like it's still in a stage where it's kind of good in some spots and really kind of not great in a lot of spots. Maybe it has a lot to do with the SoC that you're using, and Qualcomm just released a new one, so maybe that will help with its upcoming watches. But as of right now, I haven't really been that impressed, and I hope that some other stuff happens. I hope Google releases a watch and it really blows me out of the water. Maybe to really make me forego my Apple Watch once and for all. And of course, I don't have an Apple phone right now, so my watch is just sitting, doing nothing. So I am watchless, but that's totally all right. So anyways, thank you everyone. I appreciate you watching. I know this was a hot topic, I guess because a lot of reviewers didn't do the 42 millimeter. And to me, that made more sense for myself. So there you have it. I would absolutely recommend it. If you're looking at it, buy it. If you like the old Galaxy watches or the Gear watches, you'll absolutely like this. It's basically the same, just more polished experience, and you won't be sorry. So again, thank you for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.